My panel is back with me. Renee, Michael, Christina, I want you guys to have a listen to Congressman Crenshaw and his thoughts on AR-15s.
Having been to war and having used many, many weapons of war, I don't really classify these rifles as weapons of war. We use them, but we use them, they're more our self-defense weapon.
What? Renee?
I don't know. Who is he expecting? You know, I mean, I feel like we keep having the wrong conversation. We keep saying, you know, should 18-year-olds have AR-15s? No one should have an AR-15.
Exactly.
Right. Unless you are in battle. And that is the problem. They serve one purpose and one purpose only, to kill large numbers of people in a short period of time. So I don't want to have this conversation about, well, are they weapons of war? Are they recreational? It is a gun designed to kill lots of people. And something I can keep thinking about these last few days is there were children who died in Uvalde, Texas, who were either babies or weren't even born when Sandy Hook happened. And absolutely nothing has changed in the time since those children died in Sandy Hook and those children died last week in Uvalde, Texas.
Chairman Steele.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's again a part of the cat and mouse game when you're arguing the wrong point, when you're being moved into a rabbit hole of crazy. You're not focused on the fundamental question, which is, should this weapon of war be allowed in our communities? Should anyone have access to it? Should it be banned? Should it not be banned? That's the core of the debate here. And so when you have Congressman Crenshaw talking about, well, I don't really see it as such, everybody and their brother knows what it does, and everybody and their brother knows how it's used. And whether you're 18 or 81, the fact is you don't go deer hunting with an AR-15 because you don't have any deer left when you fire the gun.
And you know what, Chairman Steele, to that point, one of the more horrifying things of this story, of a horrifying story, is that parents were being swabbed because that might be the only way law enforcement would be able to identify their children.
That's right. That's right.
Christina, we've got about a minute left. I'm going to give you opportunity to give last thoughts here.
Right. We've seen time and time again, though, Republicans like to argue semantics because they know that their logic is flawed. I mean, as Chairman said, there's absolutely no reason why we should have AR-15s in our communities. But then that raises larger questions. We shouldn't have tanks in our communities, but we saw that in Ferguson, and we see this in urban areas across the country. And so it does sort of reflect on a mindset that so many Americans have that, people of color are the enemy, just as the same way they see people in Iraq or Afghanistan. And so as we move forward, Democrats are not saying take away guns, period. My grandfather had shotguns and rifles and pistols. He hunted. Many American families do that. That is very different than owning an AR-15, and it's incredibly different from an 18-year-old who can't even get Claritin at Target, but can get an AR-15 with no identification. Mm-hmm. And so, and a series of magazine rounds and bullets. And so that's also a larger question. Hopefully, the president and the Democratic Party can be a lot more forceful. And if we can't, have some sort of assault weapons ban, then maybe we can actually think about artillery.
And speaking of the president, on the other side of the screen next to Christina, we're seeing Marine One and the president and the First Lady arriving in Uvalde, Texas, where they're going to console a community, a grieving community. 19 children killed, 2 adults killed in one of the worst mass shootings in American history, but also a mass shooting that took place in a school. Earlier in the show, we had David Hogg here, Parkland survivor, talking about his experience. Have a listen to what he had to say.
If you were, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you are an American that doesn't want our kids to die in their schools and communities anymore, I need you to meet us, and we need to figure this out. We need to get out there in the streets on June 11th and march together and show the people in Congress that this is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue that Americans are going to come together and solve because we are united. But I need you to help me make this time different. If you are a Republican, like my father used to be prior to Donald Trump, and a gun owner like my father currently is, we need you to go out there and call your senator and ask them to take action. March with us June 11th if you want to end gun violence.
And with that, we're going to have to leave it there. Renee, Graham, Michael Steele, Dr. Christina Greer, thank you all very much. Before we go, just want to recognize our anchor production assistant, Kimani Hayes, who recently received his master's in journalism from Georgetown. Big congrats to you, Kimani. We are proud of you. We'll be right back.